Okay, so here are the risers. They're all dimensioned now. Um, they still need to be sanded, um, but they're the proper dimension. I've rough cut here a bunch of the nosings that I'm going to take down to, so there'll be an inch and a half setback. Okay, an inch and a half nosing. It will not be that thick. It's only going to be like 5/8. Yeah, I have to dress it down still. And then here's my pile of nosings. I had to make 13 because this one, I glued this one up already. This is the nosing at the top of the stairs. It will have to be notched out so that the bottom, the way it sits on the stairs has to be the thickness of the of whatever floor I'm going to use, which I don't know, half an inch for cork or 3/4 inch for hardwood flooring. Not exactly sure what we're going to use. That part that I glued on, that will be beveled at a 45 so that you don't hit your heel on it. Yeah, so I got tiny, there we go, these little tiny blocks just to make sure it stays in the center, because this part here, okay, get the camera lined up. So this part here is recessed. This will be the outside of the stringer, and this will be cut back. So this will disappear inside the stringer. That, and then that there. Yeah. So looking at it upside down, again, I got the funny light. This riser will be notched. Okay, yeah. So this riser will be notched out in the stringer, the same as this. It's about 5/8 of an inch. This will be notched out. Then this will be wedged in place. Like this will be notched out in the front, wedged in place. And then take a you then take a scrap piece of wood, like pine, lay it in there, glue it, and then take an air nailer and just nail the back of that in to hold the bottom. And then when you do the next tread, this then is like this on the next tread, and so you glue and nail the bottom all across the back, and that's how these things go together. Okay, so there are my stack of treads now that I've glued the edges on, the nosings. So the next thing I have to do is, this is the first nosing at the top of that'll be at the top of the stair. This one's actually pretty clean. So what I'm going to have to do is take off all that little glue there so it doesn't get in the way of routering or whichever way I clean off the get the 45 on there. One thing I've got to do too is make sure, it's hard to see in here, this one's not so bad. Any glue that gets on the inside, like this little line in here, or any glue that gets into here, I have to be careful to get that cleaned up. Do that with chisels and scrapers right now before I do anything else, just to make sure it doesn't get in the way of when I'm putting it in the cutout in the stair. You know, it's all got to be nice and clean so I can drive it in there. Got to be as accurate as possible so that I can take all the parts up and assemble it on site. Yes, so I'm covered in dust. But I got the 45. They're a little rough. I have to either sand or plane them smooth still. But yeah, I'm a mess. Anyways, yeah, worked, but really messy. So that was bad. Look out. I think they got the sliver out. They did a piece of skin out with it too. Kind of noisy in here, but so what I do is I start this with 60 with my random orbit sander. 60, 80, and then it's 120. These edges here, get done a belt sander with 100 grit. That gets rid of pretty much everything. And then I just tend to find at the end there with small surfaces like this. I've done at 180. But almost kind of not worth it using an electric sander. Except it would have saved me from getting a sliver. Trying to avoid that. Put this off now. Even though I'm still going to be installing it in something. And usually what I do is I spit on this so you can see what it looks like. This time I'm just going to use some water. That is gross. Okay. So if you remember the pile of wood that I brought in here, what it looked like, and this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. A little bit of water to it, and it just gives you an idea of what the grain's going to be like. So, like I said, from sometimes the ugliest wood, when you bring it in, ends up making the nicest wood. Okay, so that's it. They're done. Sanding, ready for installation. Yeah, they turned out pretty good. So here's a bunch of wedges that I made for under the stairs. They're 2 degrees. I made a little sliding table for them here. I don't know. Yeah, so I just kind of go in there like that, and then I just push them through to the other side. I always have to be very careful with the saw blade, but yeah, so that should be enough wedges for me to do everything. And yeah. Okay, so back in the shop again. I've I decided to switch my second board, this one here, around because I think that side is nicer than the other one. So one of the things you really have to be careful about here, and the reason I have these matched up is I take instead of a pencil, because the pencil isn't as accurate. Originally, if you can see here, this is where I ended up with my knife cut. That's where I ended up with my pencil cut, which is 1/8 of an inch, which is actually quite a bit when you're doing stairs. So I have these two matched up. As you can see up here, this is this will be the end. This will be the top, right? And then I'll have to notch this out for the subfloor, which will come along here. I've changed the height of it. And then this will all be cut out and cleared out till that riser that I've made. So that riser will, so this will be cut up to here and then cut across. So this will end up being upright here. That part will seem like it's upright, like that. And then you'll see the top of the stair. And then this is where the subfloor is going to be, where I'm going to have to notch this out. The subfloor will go along there. And then I'll have to have this put in to the stringers. That won't be wedged. It'll just be glued in. The riser will have to be put in first. And because of the distance that I'm down here, I probably will have not missed the 2x8 flooring. Let's grab a tape measure here. Measure it out just to see if I do or not. So it'll be these stays are like 7 1/4 plus 5/8. So I'll be looking at 8 1/4 inches. So 8 1/4, 8. So from there to really 8 1/4. No, I'll be down here. Yeah. So I'll have to have this and this tread put in, and then I'm down 8 1/2 inches. 8 1/4 brings me to here. So this will be open space. So I'll have lots of room to nail that in, the riser, and then go from there. So I used pencil and the knife, and I kind of went in here and marked, by knife, all the marks out. I have not drawn in the wedges, so I have to determine my straight cuts. I'm going to use a skill saw. So I'll be cutting in from the edge of the board here to there, from the edge of the board here to up there, and then make a couple of more cuts and then chisel that out flat. Remember, this here is the nosing, and the nosing's cut short. And then you see the angle part here? Well, I put a shim in there to mark it, and I've noticed I've set the shim back a little bit so there's room to drive it in. So what'll happen is the tread will go in there, and this shim is angled at 2 degrees. I'll put glue on around the top of the tread and inside there, glue on both sides of the shim, and then drive the shim in, which will pull the tread tight to the cut mark I have in here and keep it in place. Then in here will be a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch block of wood. So when I put my riser in, which is now going to sit behind this piece here, right? I'll put that in, nail the bottom of it to the, well, here I'll show you. The bottom of it will be to this tread. And so when it's up on top there, it'll be sitting tight up against the bottom of the tread. So this will be shimmed. Then this will be shimmed. This will be driven up from the bottom to push that in tight. So I have to make a cut along here and clean this all out. That will be shimmed, and then I will take a piece of, probably I'll use a pine up there. It's about 5/8 by 5/8. I'll cut it the width of the stairs, about 3 feet, and then take a nailer and then drive nails in there and put glue on there to glue the this part of the riser to the back of the nosing there. Okay, so like I said, right now I've put these together, and I marked this part here with a knife all the way down, just to make sure my lines all match up from top to bottom. And then I'll also mark my final top down here and the bottom. I'll do that first. And then I also took I measured along here, as you can see that little pencil mark, all the way along there, just to make sure that the tips of all my risers end up on the same plane all the way down. Remember that the top of this board isn't 100% straight. The bottom, as you can see, the bottom is straight. Both of these boards kind of are tight together. So I managed to get that to work on the joiner. And so what I do is I hold the board and I take my knife and I get it into one of these grooves that's there before. Take it up to that line so that each point from here all the way up is exactly the same, because you want to have that lined up. This distance also should be the same, because those are the parts where you're going to feel going up the stairs. So I've already cut these lines out. These are, you can see that's done there. That's cut there up to the line. What I did with the other board, like I'll put these two together, is I took my chisel and I chiseled out just the end, just to kind of, I don't know, gives me a better feel of things. This one I wasn't necessarily working up to that measurement at the top, and these I just held a string around it. It wasn't working as accurately and as quickly as this, so kind of like I'm learning as I'm going on. And I think I will probably cut. I take the chisel and then just chisel the ends out, just to make sure when I use this circular saw, I get to the end. I don't have any wood grain chipping up, but I'm still a ways from that. I got to mark all this stuff out, chisel that, mark the wedges like I did at the bottom there, with the wedges, I guess. It really doesn't matter, because if the angle's fairly close, since the pine is softer than the ash, it should drive in there really good and hard with the glue. I'm just trying to think of what else. Yeah, so I will finish marking this, prepare this one, and then push them together again and make sure that they're a mirror image of each other, because I've done that before, where I've done close stringers a lot for exterior stairs, like decks and stuff like that. And I've done interior stairs. You saw the one that I did. But I've never done interior stairs like this. So it's kind of daunting for me, especially operating the circular saw really accurately. But I think I'll make a guide to help me that way. I'm not the best circular saw. And it's a circular saw that kind of I'm going to have to keep the safety out of the way. But this one here, I was cutting the ends of boards on a second story deck, and it's one of those ladders that folds into 3 or 4 different pieces, and it made a click, so I went forward, and then just as I'm doing that, I go and grab I went to grab on and got my hand in there. Had to go to the hospital. Um, didn't sever any tendons or anything, but still had to get stitches and kind of screwed my work up. It makes me a little worried about using that thing, but I think that would be easier for me than trying to um, use a router inch. I have to go 5/8 of an inch deep. So this is the way I've always done it before with a saw, circular saw. Like I said, I'll use a guide. I'll make the straight cuts first, and then I'll cut the angle parts for where the wedges go, and then chisel that out. And when that's all chiseled, I'll just check to make sure the treads are fitting in, and then sand it, and then take it up. Okay. Okay, so I've got them lined up now. Few errors that I found, mostly down at the this end here, just getting the floor height. This board here is going to have to be cut shorter because that's where the floor is going to be, the finished floor. But that's where the unfinished floor is going to be, is right there. So I've left 3/4 of an inch, and what I'll do is I'll use some ash. I'll just get some ash and either glue it together or tongue and groove it. So that'll butt into there. But for now, I have to this will have to be cut down. What'll happen here is there'll be like a 2x4 that gets kind of put in there, so I can nail that into it. So this will be where the landing is here. Right? I didn't have these lined up right. So that goes to there, that goes to there, and then these two riser pieces are kind of hard to see, but that should meet with that. So now, when I hold this on, it should be tip to tip. There. Yeah. I'm okay. I think I'm going to leave this for a while, have a break. Maybe a glass of wine or something. It's a little stressful for me. Of course, the next big stress thing will be cutting these and making sure my saw cuts properly and nice and straight. Better off to cut a little bit smaller, and then you can just kind of pare off the inside. I'll just take one tread and make sure the tread fits in everywhere before I do the final assembly. But with the wedges, it's only the front 1.5 inch that actually is going to be difficult to get in, has to be fitted, because the back will just be wedged in. So when I drive the wedge in, it'll push the top of the tread into the cutout in the stringer. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, so now I've chopped out everything from this stringer. This is a lot of work. I have this piece set up here. It's just that I can check to see how it goes. I'm going to show you a little bit about how I do this. So I started the other stringer here, and I got the first one chiseled out and cut out. So I guess because I'm only doing stairs once, I'm not going to become a stair builder. I didn't use a router. You have to make a jig for that. And since every stair is different, I think I'd have to make a different jig, or a jig that I could change up for like every stair that I made. Also, my stair guy told me years ago that you couldn't get that most routers, even though I have a really good ALU router, aren't strong enough to clean out. I'm going 5/8 of an inch deep on this. I think he normally went like a 1/2 inch, but then he used the jig in a router to do all, the cuts he was making. Like if you see on there, I took a chisel. Like first of all, I take a knife, this knife here, scribing knife, mark everything, and then I take a chisel. It's my wider one, but anyways, I chisel out the most important parts, and it tends to kind of give you a you know, a fairly defined outline, and kind of helps to stop you from, whoa, camera went kind of crazy on me there. Don't know why. And it helps you kind of not make so many mistakes. The other thing you can do is you can go up to that line. If you've cut inside of it, you can kind of take your chisel and pare down to the line, which I've done. You can see where I've taken this here. I wasn't quite on the line, so I've just gone along my original line and chisel that to make it straighter. Yeah, so I'll maybe do a couple of cuts and then chisel this out, and you can see how I do it. Okay, so I made myself a little guide here. If I was really good with the skill saw, I don't know if you can see me. My head might be chopped off. So I use my battery operated saw here, and I've taped the guide back. So one of the reasons I use this is because it's, I guess what we'd say is a left-handed tool. Thing is, though, when I'm cutting, I can see I'll try and show you that there. So if I'm on my guide and see where I can see where I'm cutting, right where that's going. If you want to cut up here, it's hard to do with just, okay. So you can see that's lining up. I can see that. If I go and do this part of the cut, it's very difficult to see because I'm looking at the other side of the blade. So what I've done before is I use my old, that's called a Holtz hair. It's a real bull. It's really works well. And I actually did this cut here with that freehand, that one. And I can also make extra grooves with that one too. Danny here helping me. And we just made the cuts freehand. It goes a lot quicker. My guide wasn't lining up all the time properly. So, so you got this one cleaned out. You just got to get rid of that stuff. Oh no, it is. Okay, you might want to move the light a bit closer too. Hang on. So the thickness of the depth of the saw is set at 5/8 of an inch. And my little square over there, it's also set for 5/8 of an inch, just to know that we're at the right depth. Got to keep checking that to make sure it doesn't get changed. But so you can snap off those cuts and then follow the you'll see that the lines on the bottom of the grooves there where the saw blade went. So all you got to do is clean out to there. And then I'm gonna get you to start working on the tip part. Okay, he's gonna check it now. Okay, so this is doing the end. It's okay. That's on your way. So having the cut with the knife, I've actually chiseled that already before. Chisel that kind of corner just so that when you're cutting it with the saw, the chisel and marking with the knife works really well. It also helps stop the circular saw as it lifts up. So there tends to be tear out. Now the really important thing here is to not to you're going too far. You already had one little piece pulled up here, okay, and you gotta kind of have to remove the pressure by making that first cut down the front. So he's already seen what can happen when here, I'll try and get in as close as I can when you don't do that. But once you've gotten down to a certain point, it becomes a little bit easier because you have a little more of a guide. Also less, once it gets deeper into the wood, there's less chance of it breaking out to the top. You still have to worry about it breaking out to the bottom, which can happen, especially if you're hitting it too hard. If you tear it out all the way, it can break off to the bottom. So it's a very tedious kind of work, but it's a very good experience. So kind of a cloudy day to start my day up here. Got the fire going. Try and warm it up in here. See what temperature I've got. Haven't even had my breakfast yet. Yeah, 15. It's taken a while to warm up right now. 3 degrees outside. Just starting to make my breakfast here. I have some pork belly that was smoked. I'm just kind of rendering it down, trying to get the fat out of it and render the fat down so it's nicer to eat. I have to clean up. Barbara cleaned up last week, but not this. I have to clean all this stuff out of here. And then take this wooden thing, that was just there, to hold the ends of the wood pieces up, and remove the ladder and build a little landing at the back there. Here's the boards I brought in when I got here last night. I use this plastic wrap, stuff they use commercially to wrap things. I think I got it at Lee Valley. There's like a small 2-inch roll, and then this is a wider stuff. So it just makes everything easier to pack up. Like from my basement shop, bringing it in packages of 2. So yeah, when I made cabinets and any other things in my shop to carry, it was just a lot easier to carry them up and have it wrapped nicely like that, kind of more organized.